When I first heard about Brahma Baba, I was a child. I was perhaps 8 or 9 years old, and I was in London, and I would see and hear senior yogis coming from India, visiting London on tours, and they would speak about the times that they spent with Brahma Baba. And for some of them, they may only have met him for a few minutes, but they would speak as though those were the most special moments in their entire lives, as though the main experience of their life was having those few moments with Baba. And so I was already aware that Baba was a very humble person, and it was this humility which I think initially was the thing which attracted me, to live a life of humility, to put others first. But I was also keen to go to Mount Abu, to Madhuban, and to see and experience for myself what actually Baba was like. And so the first time I went there, it was in December in 1982, and I was a teenager by then. And it was quite remarkable stepping into Madhuban, into Pandav Bhavan in Mount Abu at our global headquarters. It really was like stepping into another world. And of course it's the place which Baba has created along with Mama and the other senior yogis. And for me it was really the proof of Brahma Baba's personality and the culture that he has created. And that is the culture of serving, the culture of uplifting, the culture of helping others. And so what I have seen over the years in Madhuban is that whoever goes there, whether it's a seasoned yogi of many years, or it's a first-timer, it's a visitor, a guest, but each one feels this sense of belonging and acceptance. And I feel it's this great divine energy of love, which is really the hallmark of a great spiritual person. To be able to make another person also feel very great. In the presence of that person, you forget your own waste thoughts, you forget your own inadequacies, and you also feel great and elevated in the company of such a person. So although Baba is not there in the physical form, of course, but yet still one can feel his presence there. And just stepping into Pandav Bhavan, my experience was like one gets hit by this very pure wave of spiritual love, just entering into the gates and walking through the courtyard. And this wave of love and respect, it rolls across the campus all the time. And each word which was spoken was like a word wrapped in this energy of love and respect and presented to you as a gift. And how does this come about? How is it that so many were able to behave in such a divine and elevated way? We know that the dadis, and there were many of them around in those days, were of course promoting this and being the example. But then where did they learn it from? And then you come back to the main example, which was Brahma Baba. And so even going into Baba's room or any of the main places in Pandav Bhavan, I would feel this very deep sense of personal connection. And I think that this is one thing that has always appealed to me over the years, that Baba's great quality of caring for others, no matter who they are. Brahma Baba is known as Prajapita, the father of humanity. And sometimes the question arises, well, what's the proof? Well, the proof of anything really is the behavior that is displayed by a person. Because ultimately it is your behavior which defines you and not your beliefs. And so over decades of such divine sustenance and behavior, year after year after year, well, this is what one would expect from a father figure. And I've seen over the years, as so many of us from around the world have come in our hundreds, even in our thousands, but that same culture of care continues to exist. It was, of course, carried forward by Dadi Prakashmani, Dadi Janki and others. But it was Baba who started this. Baba and Mama created this culture. And so I see also Brahma Baba as one who includes everyone, gives every soul what they really need, spiritually serving each soul. And the stories that I've heard from many of the seniors really bring this to light, how one is able to put oneself out of the picture in order to put others forward. And when I used to hear these stories of how Baba would always be encouraging others to progress, and often would say that you are more clever than me, you are wiser than me. So this sense of egolessness and humility was very attractive to me. And one reason, of course, is because we live in a world which is very much the opposite of that, where the culture of me first exists, whether it's in public life, in what we read in the newspapers, or it's the behavior that we may see in front of us. And so I believe that egolessness, which is one of the three main lessons that Baba left us with, that's really a great achievement for a human soul. And egolessness is such a thing that when one is able to put the ego to one side, then the only thing which comes out from you is a very pure love, very divine love. And it's that pure and divine love which I think is able to melt the ego of the other person. And that's the only way forward for humanity, is to emerge our innate divinity by working on and overcoming our own egos, such that the egos of others also melt. And I would add also that Brahma Baba as a leader was for me also a great example of what leadership is really about. Because Baba placed others in front and enabled them to also become leaders. And the stories I hear is how he wasn't removed from the group. He wasn't sitting in his room by himself meditating and studying, but very hands-on, getting involved in the day-to-day activities. And the pictures I see of Brahma Baba, in many of them he's surrounded by the family, by other yogis. And so he was very much part of the family. But yet the greatest leadership skill of all, which Baba exhibited, was to win the hearts and minds of others. Because to do that, it can only be done by the way you treat others on a day-to-day basis, by your behavior, not by great speeches or by policy or by showering others with gifts, but every day how you treat others, your attitude towards others. Whether you're being praised by others or being criticized by others. And so we practically see that Baba has created a global team of spiritual servers. And I think that's perhaps the greatest legacy, is what he has left behind in the hearts of others. The impressions and the memories that's left behind in the hearts of others, which encourage them also to reach for the best within their own selves. And in a way, the aim of our work, of course, is to create a world of unity, a world of beauty and world of harmony. And creating such a world can only be done as a team effort. Building a better world is a team sport. And Baba encouraged this, that on the one hand to be very attentive towards one's own personal spiritual growth, because only I can make effort for myself. But on the other hand, the other side of spirituality is to take care of others and to feel responsible for encouraging and inspiring each other. And so I've seen that trait of Baba carried very significantly by our Dadis, Dadi Janki, the main one I knew, also Dadi Prakashmani and others, of that spirituality is not just a personal journey, but you can only succeed if you take others with you and if you help others along the journey. And yes, sometimes you also need help. And so I'm very thankful that this example of Brahma Baba is there in life as a human being to look up to, who had been through life and through the challenges of life, and also had the luxuries of life, but yet was able to put that to one side and renounce what he had achieved in order to create this global team and to create this amazing place called Madhuban, where every person from the world can come and feel at home and fill their hearts with God's love. And greater than this, there can be no other contribution to humanity than to create a place where the soul can be replenished, recharged, and to find the best within its own self. Thank you, and Om Shanti.